Good day, Falcons. Today we are going to start a new unit on cells. And the main thing that we're going to be focusing on, how does life persist at each level of organization? So what we're going to be examining is that how could we look at how life works from the tiniest cell to how these cells come together to form tissues, how tissues come together to form organs, and then we look at body systems. And then at this, we're going to look at the whole individual. So we're going to be starting from the ground up, and I look forward to discussing this topic with y'alls. The big idea for this unit, and this is something that I'd like to have you remember for the rest of your life. All right, so these are very important concepts that are very broad. And so when we're looking at all living things, everything from the tiniest bacterium, all right, to the largest animal on our planet, a whale, we are all made of cells. We have that in common. And there's a lot, a few things that we have in common with the bacteria that we have in common with our own body as humans. But all cells are not the same. All right, so cells are going to be specialized, and they can have a specific function. And all these are going to work together as a system, all right? And our body needs something to maintain a stable environment, and that's called homeostasis. And that is something that we are going to be studying towards the end of this unit. Look at those big ideas here, all right? Now, this is a picture when we talk about differentiation. All right, what amazes me is that we all start off as a single cell, every single one of us. And you might have heard of the term stem cell, and we're going to talk about stem cells, and there's actually different types. But what is really amazing is the fact that from this single cell that we start from, all these different cells that you see around here are going to be derived from that original cell that is us. Of all these different types of cells. Now, as we saw in that previous example, we want to talk about how they are all going to work together. And that's what we talk about, contribute to the function of a living organism. And that is going to be what it does. Oh, sorry for my pen smacking the iPad. We're going to talk about what are specialized cells and how do they become specialized. And then how are they going to work in our multi-cell organism, which is something like us, and what happens if there's a change in that system. So this is going to be directly related to slide 3, all right? So after fertilization, all right, we start off with one cell. And one cell become 2, 2 become 4, 4 become 8, etc. And there's going to be a point, which is about 5 days after fertilization, we get something that is called a blastula. And this is a hollow ball of cells that have about 200 to 300 cells in it. Now, at one point, there is going to be something in the DNA that is going to instruct these cells to kind of fold in on themselves. So like right here, these cells are going to go up like this. And so that's what we see right here. And this is what's really kind of amazing at this point. Depending on where these cells are located, all right, whether it's going to be out here on the inside or in the middle, is going to determine what type of tissue it's going to become. So for example, the ectoderm, this is going to lead into things such as your skin and your nervous system. The mesoderm, which is in the middle here, all right, I don't see where they put the mesoderm. All right, mesoderm should be in there. All right, this is going to give rise to stuff like our muscles and connective tissue. So think of stuff like tendons and cartilage. And then our endoderm, which is the inside here, and that's going to give rise to stuff like our internal organs. All right, now it really depends on where the location of these cells are. All right, location, because they are going to receive messages all right, in the form of chemicals to tell them what kind of cell they're going to be. And this is why we have trillions of cells that all have specialization, even though we come from one simple little cell. So the question that's going to guide us this week is that we're going to be looking at the basic structure, all right? So think about the bones, so to speak, what's in here. The function is going to what it does, all right? And also how a cell is going to make more of themselves. So this is a representation, not real photo, of a cell undergoing what we call replication and cleavage. And so here we start with one cell, all right? And then we see right here, we have a place where it's going to be dividing, all right? Here we have two divisions. We end up 4 cells. And so each one of these cells, so this part here at the very end, we are going to have 8 cells, and they are going to be identical to one another. And so cells, it's really important that when they copy themselves, that they copy their DNA correctly to ensure that each cell has the same set of instructions. So you're not going to be required to remember this for exam, but I do want to give you a little bit of context in the history of how we know cells exist. And you might say, well, duh. But at one time, we had a lot of different ideas of what a cell was, and it wasn't really even called a cell. So way back in the day, so we're talking like 400 years ago, microscopes were first used to look at the quality of cloth and material. And it was this dude right here, Van Leeuwenhoek, all right? He was the first person on record that we know of to look at nature in a microscope. And so he took some pond water and he saw these little beasties and these little things moving around. And he published his information about this. And that led him to some discoveries of other things. And at the time, there's a lot of different ideas of like how humans came to be, because they really didn't think about the whole process as we know it now, if you know what I mean. At even one point, there was a thought that there were little tiny humans that were actually in sperm cells, and then they just kind of like came out of there, all right? And which I think is probably one of the cutest words, maybe in biology. They thought that this term with these little humans inside the head of a sperm were called animalcules. Or something like that, animalcules. Animalcules, that's not the right spelling. Anywho, that is what we thought at one point. Well, at that point, they weren't even called anything besides animalcules or other things. But it wasn't until like the mid-1600s, which is around the time that Saint LaSalle was born, fun fact, that it was a scientist named Robert Hooke in England. He was looking at cork, all right, you know, the stuff that's made out of like wine stuff. And when he looked underneath the microscope, he saw these like, they look like little, in chambers, also is a fancy name for rooms, all right? And so Hooke called them cells. Like in a monastery at the time, they had little rooms that they lived in, and they were called cells. And so therefore, he thought those looked like little monk rooms, and so therefore, this is how we got the name cell. I include this slide not for us to remember it for a test, but for us to kind of understand how we build upon previous knowledge, which is an important aspect of science. And so about 150 years after Hooke discovered the name cells, we talked about how cells became the basic unit of life. All right. And so we see that in the 1800s early, we talked about all plants were made out of cells, all animals. And then in the mid 1800s, that cells come from existing cells. And so this was quite revolutionary. And these discoveries that come build upon one another help us to understand things like outbreaks of disease like cholera, which even today still is a major death of children, usually because they get diarrhea from human waste that contaminates water supplies. But it was these types of studies that understand that cells come from existing cells that we see how disease spreads among humans and animals. So as we come to the grand finale here, at least for the note part, it is that these three things summarize what we now call the cell theory, which is built upon the scientists previously mentioned. And this was, we're looking around 1839 when this was developed. All right. And so the three main findings of cell theory that hold up today. The first one is that all living things are composed of, I should say, one or more cells. All right. And that they are also going to be considered the smallest unit of life as we know it. All right. So they're not going to be, for example, just a chloroplast can be considered living, or a mitochondria, is that they have to have this group of organelles, and specific structures in order to be considered a unit of life. Also, that's the first one. Second one, that cells are the basic structures of function in living things. And so because they can even be single cell organisms, and so they can hold all the important components that are necessary for life, which includes stuff like metabolism, for example, if you're like a bacteria, you need to have metabolism, which is, the way that you're able to extract energy from food. But it also is going to include stuff like tissues and the specialization of cells. And lastly, the last part of the cell theory is that new cells come from existing cells. And so we call this process cell division. And in what we're going to talk about, eukaryotic cells, we call this process mitosis. All right. And so these are the three things that have withstood the test of time. And one thing that when this was, established in 1839, at the time we didn't know that the importance of DNA existed, but this whole process of cell division ensures that DNA is going to be copied and going to be basically in every single cell after that. Now, for today's assignment, you can work in groups of 2 to 3 people, all right? Now, it's really important when you do this assignment that you're literally talking through these things, all right? Everything that you need to answer the questions in this assignment is going to be in mainly what we call the models. So this is going to be in Model 1. This is going to be in Model 2. All right. So it's really important that you all are taking a look at and talking about these things that are being pointed at here, okay? Looking at the differences and the similarities between the cells, all right? So I want you to, with your partner or partners, is to sit here and talk about, well, what do you see in common? And so you will be able to do this by the end of class, all right? There's no doubt that you can finish this before class ends today. Also, I do know that some of these answers are online, and you do not need to go to those answers, all right? I want you to sit with this. I want you to talk with your partners. The point of this is to learn and practice and apply what you learn by talking and working together, as opposed to just getting the answers from the internet, all right? Yesterday, I saw a class work on this, and by them talking things out, they really truly understood the difference between the two different cells, which is the point of this assignment, is to look at the difference between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells, and sit with that and figure out what does these terms mean and what are the differences and similarities between the cells. So before next class, I like to consider this an entry slip. All right. And so what I want you to do is to create a flow chart here based upon the stuff that you learned in today's activity. What I want you to do is to put the two main categories of cells, one here and one there. All right. And I think the distinguishing thing is to figure out which cell is going to go in one, which one's going to go to two. Notice here that there's going to be 3 types of cell 1. and there's going to be 2 types of cell 2. All right. You'll see I want the distinguishing characteristics of that group as well as this one. Okay. And even further breaking down the 2 types in here, the distinguishing characteristics of that. So this is going to be a summary table. That is going to be an entry slip that you should have done before next class. Lastly, if you have any questions or clarifications that you have, please write down questions you have. All right. I'm not going to be in today's class, but I will be stopping by on Friday for questions. You're going to be working on a lab for cell identification. All right. And so you're going to be learning how to use the microscope, and I will be giving you guys a little lesson in that as well. And so have fun with this, work hard with your partner, and commit to really taking the time to understand what the questions are asking and what you need to do. Thank you, and I hope you all have a great day.